We don't hear you, Mike. I don't hear either of you guys for some reason. One sec. Let me grab Tony.
Is that a little better?
Yeah. Got you.
There we go. We're back.
Got us?
We're back.
All right, we are back. Welcome to Mostly Sports. I'm in LA. Jay is in Philly, surrounded, ensconced in baseball gear. Jay, what's happening back there?
Nothing, man. Just got back from a beautiful hike out in Valley Forge. It's a little chilly out, and in Pennsylvania, you can apparently gamble at any time, any place, anywhere you are. So it's kind of heaven on earth. It's very bizarre, but man, it's good to be home. How you doing out there, brother?
I'm good, man. It's a little chilly out here. It's going to be cold the next couple of days. California's bracing for a pretty epic, and I hate using that word, but an epic cold front coming in. Apparently this storm that's coming in over the next couple of days has a name. We never get names out here on the West Coast. It's always the East Coast hurricanes and stuff. So it should be interesting. We have a phenomenal show today. We're going to pack it in tight for an hour because my daughter's off from school and I have her, so we got to tie it in an hour, which we should have no problem doing. We got plenty of college football to talk about. College football championship shaping up well. It's going to look, I think, extremely well after this week. If Alabama beats Auburn in the Iron Bowl, I think they're in. I know they've been held back a little bit because of Mac Jones, but Mac Jones' numbers have been pretty crazy. 3 passing touchdowns in the first half last week, 6 passing touchdowns to the first 2 starts. The only one to do that in Alabama history in the last 15 years has been Tua. So Mac Jones is fitting in that system perfectly. It's tough not to. I think you could show up with that baseball bat and you'd fit in fine. And to be honest, I'm not totally sold on Georgia. They're 28-point favorites over Georgia Tech, squeaking out a win this past week. I'm not totally sold on them. We will delve into that along with Ohio State, Michigan, and some other notable games. Oregon going down puts a hamper on the whole Pac-12 thing. But
you're so
Oregon,
depressed. You're so depressed.
Oregon still in the running. Last night, that game was an absolute clunker. I came back for the second half. The game was over. That was kind of a bummer. Is Green Bay that bad or is San Francisco that good? San Francisco looked amazing. Green Bay looked awful coming out to California, both times getting smoked by the Chargers and by the 49ers. And the game of the week last week, the Patriots, Cowboys, kind of a bummer of a game. Not that exciting. It was pretty exciting if you had the Cowboys and the under, which I did. I'm pretty fired up about that. That was my big win, except for Atlanta over as well. And I want to talk a little bit about this game tonight. I've done plenty of research. I don't see any way that the Rams don't get absolutely shellacked in the Coliseum tonight by the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore is playing amazing right now. 6-game win streak, 4 in a row. Most importantly for this show, from a gambling perspective, they've won by more than 14 points for their last 4 games in a row, and the Rams have been held under 20 points in back-to-back games. I know they're getting their receiving core back, and Sean McVay says that Todd Gurley is now healthy. He never said he was hurt to begin with, but I don't see any way that the Rams keep this close. I think by the time I get home a little bit later in the second quarter, this game is going to be over, similar to last night. But first, most importantly, I want to hear about all this gambling going on in Philly with you right now, in Pennsylvania. Just legalized. Tell me about it.
Well, yeah, I'm excited to talk about this Ram-Raven game because of everything you just said. I have a lot of thoughts and opinions. But yeah, man, I got home. I grew up. I'm born and raised here in Philadelphia, obviously. And you know, if you wanted to gamble when you were a kid, you had to take the hour drive down the Atlantic City Expressway and go to the Borgata or Trump's Place or one of those spots. But now there's casinos everywhere. You can play Poker Stars. I think there's only 3 states, maybe Nevada, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, where you can play Poker Stars legally. Pennsylvania is one of them. I can sit there. Melissa will walk into Wawa, grab me a coffee while she's in Wawa. I'll play a little Pot Limit Omaha on my phone, which is absolutely ridiculous. And then the kicker is DraftKings. So in California, we just play sports DraftKings, right? You come to Pennsylvania, a little icon pops up on your screen that says Sportsbook. You click that little Sportsbook icon, all of a sudden, all the money you have in your DraftKings DFS account can now be wagered on first half Ohio State, and you can just double your money and take that free money like we did this week. So, yeah, it's a brave new world out here in Pennsylvania. It's been a lot of fun.
Ohio State first half. That's been one of our locks all year. I believe it's 9-2 or something
I
crazy.
It's lost twice. I don't think it's lost once. It lost at Rutgers.
Okay,
yeah.
So 10-1. There you go. That's been one of our locks. Basically, we do picks every week. We put 5 up on Instagram. We're allowed to pick any 5 games from college or pros. We like to do T-shirt giveaways. If somebody can put their picks up and beat us on any given week, I believe we will send them a T-shirt. So check out our Instagram at Mostly Sports. Put your picks up. See how you do against us. I think we both went 2-3 this week. Kind of a bummer. I feel like I've gone 2-3 the last 5 weeks. Losing record. I think you're up above 500. Pretty impressive. We're both close to 500. Getting back to the gambling thing real quick. I remember when a buddy texted me a little while back, once this whole gambling thing started making its way into all the political arenas and all that. And my buddy called me up and he said, "Is this going to be a problem for you?" And I kind of laughed. I said, "No, it's not going to be a problem for me. It's going to be a problem for you." And he said, "What on earth are you talking about? I don't even gamble." I said, "I know. That's the problem. If I had a gambling problem, if you did, it would be well documented already. We do it a lot. But
I think it is well documented.
It's only a gambling problem if you're losing." Okay? I said it's going to be a problem when we're at a Knicks game over Christmas and you could walk up to a kiosk when you go to the bathroom at halftime to go get a hot dog and take a leak, and you could put a bet in on the Knicks second half. I don't know if anybody would ever put the Knicks second half, but that's the option for you. You don't know if that's an issue for you yet. For us, we'll already have it done on our phones by the time you even get to the bathroom.
Look, we did a show the day that this was passed by the Supreme Court, and we did a good couple hours on it, and everybody talked about this changing world. And for you and I, it was just look, I can gamble in California on sports with my bookie. I can make live bets. I can do everything I do on DraftKings here. And I think at the moment when we were talking, I said what the problem will be is for the casual bettor.
Yeah.
Now it's just way too easy for them to just throw a couple bucks here and there, because it's just like I said, your phone, it's an app, you download, you fill out a form, all of a sudden you're sports betting, you know. But the difference is you got to put your own money up to do it on this, as opposed to my bookie, who throws me a $5,000 credit line without a credit check. He's just here's $5,000 and I'm betting whatever I want. So at least with this, you got to insert your own cash first to win some money. So we'll see, but it's pretty amazing, man. Everybody's it's the talk of the town around here.
And we'll say that credit line is a very revolving credit line, because if Sunday morning you're down close to that 5,000 limit and you call your bookie, you say, "I need another $1,000," before you even hang up the phone, he'll approve it. So that's no problem. But yeah, the point is it's becoming legal everywhere. I think a buddy of mine is in Gamblers Anonymous, and he says he's seen a huge uptick in numbers because it's so readily available. I don't know if the general public knows how easy it is to sign up for a Bovada account. Even if you don't know a bookie, it's super easy to start gambling. And chances are, if you have the itch, it's week 11 in football, you're going to be doing it already.
Yeah, it's been fun, man. It just keeps you dialed into the games as well. I mean, we're getting down to crunch time here in the NFL. We're absolutely in crunch time in college football. You're right in your sweet spot right now. You're loving the conversation, right? So Oregon lost, fine. We knew one of these Pac-12 teams was going to go by the wayside. A tough loss at Arizona State. They tried to make a little comeback. You were talking about getting them at plus 1,500.
Plus 1,500 before that touchdown.
And they made it somewhat close, but now it's all about Utah, man. Utah is not sexy in any way, shape, or form. Utah is a Conshohocken 6, right? Maybe 11 Jaeger bombs later, we'll have a conversation. But you know what? They show up for work. They get it done. Utah is a very good team. And I was a little sour on Utah, right, Mike, the last couple of weeks. And I was look, if Oregon loses, Bama should get in if they beat Auburn. I think I've changed my mind. I think if Utah runs the table and wins the Pac-12, I want to see what Utah does with that great defense, with their 28-year-old Samoans, with guys with 35 kids and Mormons. I want to see what they can do on the big stage against the big boys.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's a total change of tune. And an Oregon loss would do that. I believe they were down a touchdown. It was 3rd and 16, and it was a absolute bomb, perfect pass, great catch. It wasn't Fred Darby. It was the other receiver. Unbelievable. That just knocked it out, knocked all the air out, because Arizona State looked terrified when Oregon started mounting their comeback. When you talk about the sexy team, Oregon, you think, we still have that Chip Kelly residue from 6, 7, 8 years ago, on us, and that's why we think Oregon is that sexy team with all the unis and all that stuff. Utah is the exact opposite. The only thing less sexy than Utah is BYU. And I'm just kind of curious. Georgia didn't look that great this week. The rankings come out tomorrow night. We'll see if they've moved Alabama ahead of Georgia. They're very close in the AP poll, both sitting at 10-1. The issue, I think, with Alabama in that room was that Tua's out. So we can't put them in just yet.
It was, but here's the thing. Like you said, you brought up some really good Mac Davis. Is that his name?
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. We don't even know this guy's name. We all want to call him Matt Jones, but it's Mac Jones. Florida
Matt Jones.
Kid. You know, that was the big question mark, right? Like, here's this backup quarterback who he looked decent in the one game after Tua, but I think it was against, like, the Citadel or somebody, not very good. Tua comes back, gets hurt. He looked good again. It's set up nicely for Alabama, right? Like, if you're going to lose Tua, at least Mac Jones had one game to go get a lot of confidence going into Auburn. And when you're dealing with the best receiving core in college football, they might have the best receiving core in, like, all of football. I mean, they might have a better receiving core than, like, half the NFL. Najee Harris, you have a great running game, great offensive line. I still like them. And if they go into Auburn, you're going to have your perfect storm of Oklahoma, Utah, Alabama, let's fight to the death, the Kumite, Bloodsport, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Chong Lee. Let's just no holds barred. I'm going with Utah. Where are you going?
If Alabama takes care of Auburn this week, I think they'll jump up. But then we get the whole championship weekend. So that's going to be, relatively interesting. We talk Clemson's going to roll. What are they going to get? Virginia in the ACC championship. Ohio State.
Yeah, they're in. They're in.
Well, this is what I'm talking about. Ohio State's going to get either Minnesota or Wisconsin. They play each other this week. And they are going to boat race either of those teams. That's going to be embarrassing. That's going to be a 21.5-point line. And then LSU, that's kind of the interesting. Even if they lose, they're in. So I think, the Iron Bowl, obviously, everything hinges on that. Because if Auburn beats Alabama, you could take Alabama out. And Georgia probably has clear sailing but they're going to have to play LSU in the championship game. So that's interesting. Utah's going to roll. I think, if I'm correct, Utah's 28.5-point favorites. Yeah, 28.5 at home against Colorado. I do not see them slipping up. Granted, I didn't see Oregon slipping up the other night, but they weren't 28.5-point favorites. That line was a lot lower. Then you also have, like you said, Oklahoma. Jalen Hurts is making a strong case for the Heisman right now. He's playing out of his mind. Oklahoma just has one loss to an undefeated Baylor at the time.
Look, Oklahoma's in the I will. We can talk about Oklahoma, and it's fun, right? Like Clemson's in, LSU's in, Ohio State's in, down to 3 teams. Now, look, Utah, Oklahoma, and Alabama. Each side will be able to make a very good case. Only 2 of those teams, however, will be able to claim a conference championship, right? And again, it's how you weight it and what personal things you hold, most dear in this debate. And for me, if you win a conference championship, that's better than a team that didn't, right? Do I think Alabama is better than Utah and Oklahoma? I do, 100%. Without Tua, maybe not as much, but I do. But look, if you win a conference title, you're getting the check mark from me. And look, Oklahoma stole one this week. Like, they're squeaking by. This isn't some great Oklahoma team that we saw the first month, right? We were betting them a ton first half. Jalen was a Heisman favorite. That was back when Joe Burrow was like 30-1. Where were we? Where were our Joe Burrow tickets at 30-1?
I know.
And now he's a runaway winner. So we'll see. For me, it comes down to Utah and Oklahoma, and I just think Utah's a better team. I'd like to see a Pac-12 team get a shot, and especially an ugly, unsexy Pac-12 team. This isn't a coastal elite, USC, UCLA, Stanford. This is Utah out of the Pac-12. I think it's a fun little subplot. Go Utes.
All right, well, 2 questions for you. Let's say LSU rolls and takes care of, let's say, Georgia. So Georgia's out. By the way, Georgia, why are we not talking more about their loss? Their loss was awful. Okay?
Awful.
You could talk about Utah's loss. You could talk, but nobody's talking about that enough, I don't feel like, especially to have them in the 4. South Carolina's 4-7. They were 3-3 when they beat Georgia. Granted, it was in the last couple seconds that game was decided, but I feel like we're not getting enough information about why the committee is not talking about Georgia's awful loss. Let's say LSU. What's that?
I'm going to tell you why. Because the committee knows that, like, look, we'll throw them in there because it's the SEC. We know that loss sucks, but they're 9-2 or whatever they are. They're going to lose to LSU, and they're just going to play their way out of the conversation is the point. So it's like we don't really have to worry about it. We can have them up there, but they're going to lose and be out the door anyway. LSU is amazing.
Well, so that's my next. I want to see LSU Ohio State. That's one game where I'm clearing my schedule, sending the wife and kids out of the house, and I'm just sitting there because that's the battle I want to see in the championship game. Let me ask you this.
And you love a narrative, Mike. So you love a good narrative. Joe Burrow played at Ohio State. Most people don't realize that. He's an Ohio State transfer, man.
No.
So to go back to his home state where he was kind of exiled down south to Louisiana to resurrect this broken offense. LSU has always been a defensive running team. It's a pretty amazing story, man. He's hard not to root for.
So let me ask you this. Let's say LSU takes care of Georgia like it should. Let's say Bama even beats Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Obviously, Bama's not going to be going to the SEC title game. So then you have Oklahoma, Utah. They both win their conference, and then Bama sitting there. Who do you put in as that fourth?
That's a tough one.
That's a tough one. That's a great one.
I'm not ready for that one yet.
Okay. That's a great one.
That is a great one.
We feel like there's an SEC bias among the committee. They want two teams in. They feel like the SEC is by far the strongest conference, and you shouldn't get punished for having to play such a difficult schedule like LSU, Utah, or LSU, Bama, Georgia, teams like that. But, I mean, we saw it this week, game day, which is one of my favorite 3 hours of the week. They tried to boycott the Fox or the ESPN game day. They didn't do a great job because of ESPN's apparently bias with the Big Ten. So they all went to the other side of the stadium for the Fox show, which is Urban Meyer on that desk.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because this is still Urban Meyer's team. 2 years removed. These are his guys. These are the guys he recruited. That's a great question. Utah, Alabama, Oklahoma. Who's in? I love it.
I think you can get really good value if we're talking from a betting perspective, right? Like we talk about it all the time. It's like zig when people zag. Everybody's trying to buy low, right? So here we are. We're in late November. Everybody's been trashing Clemson the entire year because, unfortunately for them, their schedule turned out to be terrible, which is not necessarily their fault that the rest of the SEC sucks, but it is what it is. I'm guessing right now it's probably a pretty good time to buy low on a Clemson team to win the national title because you're going to get way better odds than you would have gotten, say, 2 months ago, right? When they were always number one, defending champs. Trevor Lawrence was this, super god sunshine from, your favorite Denzel Washington movie. What is that movie? Remember the Titans. Remember the Titans. But no, I'm guessing they're going to be the third favorite. It's going to be LSU. It's going to be Ohio State. In a 4-team tournament, if I can get some value on Clemson, who still hasn't lost a game yet, who still has the number one quarterback in the country in the draft, according to Mel Kiper, still has an amazing receiving core, has an amazing running back. I don't know. I think I'm going to jump on a little Clemson money here in the next week or so.
I don't have Bovada doesn't have the odds up for those futures, but I agree with what you're saying, but I still think they respect Clemson very much. But we've talked about this on the show before. You brought it up a number of times. Is this the kind of team that can turn it on when they need to against an LSU, Ohio State, Alabama, Utah, Oklahoma? That'd be interesting to see.
Well, Big B's on the message board. He's always great at finding us really good odds. We like to just flow and not always have the odds in front of us and kind of speculate what they would be, which makes the show more fun in my opinion. I don't know. If I'm getting Clemson, right? If Clemson is 3-1 to win the title 2 months ago, and now I'm getting Clemson at 8-1, I'm not sure that's what it is. If they are the third favorite, which I think Vegas will have them as the third favorite because the public has soured on them a little bit. I don't know. I just think that's really, really good value, going forward, again, in a 4-team tournament when you're the defending champ and you have all that talent.
They got to be the quietest 11-0 team that we've seen in the past, I don't know how long. Chase Young, back for Ohio State. How good is this guy? 4 tackles for a loss, 3 sacks. Ohio State crushed Penn State in the first half. Hold on.
Okay.
In the first half, I went out for a little bit. I checked the score. I said, wow, Penn State just scored twice. I got to get back and see this. And then Ohio State pulled away.
Wow.
Penn State covered, by the way.
Big B just threw some odds up. That shocks me. I mean, I guess, okay, so Vegas is still respecting Clemson. You got Ohio State plus 180, which I think is terrible value. I think LSU and Clemson are both better than Ohio State. As much as I've loved winning money on them every week betting that first half, I don't know, man. Just like stepping out of that, playing. Maybe it's the bias of the South. Like, we have so many memories of the SEC just destroying the Notre Dames and Ohio State's done their thing, the Maurice Claret years, and have won their titles. And I don't know. That just seems weird to me. LSU plus 300, the third favorite. I think
that's weird.
Yeah, I think LSU is phenomenal.
I mean, they do have to play Georgia. I'm just curious as to, and I wasn't able to watch a lot of the explanation, but why they left Georgia at number 3. I understand the whole Mac Brown thing, but I mean, we could even go back to the Ohio State days when they had, what's his name, come in, the big dude. And he won the championship for him. Oh, my God, what was his name? What's that?
The freshman, the kid that threw it a mile.
Yeah, the big dude.
Yeah, big dude. Look at us.
Anyone on the board, help me out. I'm drawing a blank right now. But people wrote Ohio State off, and then this kid came in, and I remember there was a controversy the next year because what's his name was healthy. You said, how do you start him if what's his name just had you beat Alabama and Clemson for the championship?
Yeah, J.T. Barrett was coming back. I mean, they were pretty loaded there at quarterback for a while.
What's his name? It's not Caldwell. It's something. I'm drawing a blank here.
Somebody will say it on the board.
Driving me crazy.
I like what you're saying, but look, it's going to shake itself out. I don't really see a ton of value right now, honestly, in any of this stuff.
No.
I would just fade Ohio State. Plus 180 is just not good enough. Good enough of a bet. I'll be curious to see what Utah will be. Utah will be such a prohibitive fourth favorite if they do get in. And Big B brings up a good point, and we all know this. If you get hurt in basketball, it affects your seeding. If you lose your star player going into the tournament, you're dropping 3 or 4 seeds.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it works. So we'll see how they do it with Tua. But again, like, they have a chance on the national stage against a very good Auburn team. If Mac Jones goes out there and throws 4 touchdowns, you got to figure Alabama they've righted the ship and they're just Alabama again.
And they're going to get lucky again by not having to play a top SEC East team in the championship game. They're going to get a week off where LSU and Georgia are going to have to battle and they're going to slide right in. Safe to say that Nick Saban knows that and has done very well with that. He probably told his team, hey, we got to run the table at the beginning of the season. But if we lose one, we're still going to be in very good shape because if we lose that game, it's going to be LSU and they're going to have to go. And I love it. I love this chaos. And it's not going to shake itself out because we got that 4th team. And it's either going to be Bama, Oklahoma, Utah. Should be interesting. Utah's going to have to play Oregon, which isn't going to be a gimme. Oregon's going to want to destroy them. Now, here's another totally interesting thing to talk about. UCLA played USC this past week. I was not at the game, but if USC somehow sneaks their way into the Pac-12 championship game, and that's only if Utah loses to Colorado State, which isn't going to happen, and they happen to beat Oregon, how do you fire Clay Helton? How do you fire a coach that just won you the Pac-12 championship? That's what we're asking in LA right now because everyone assumes he's gone, and either James Franklin or hopefully Urban Meyer comes on to coach this Trojans team next year.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like if you're a USC fan, you're kind of rooting for them to lose a little bit because you want Clay Helton out there. He's just, he's a C+. He's average. He's done a nice job. You got Slovis in there, your third quarterback. They got absolutely decimated with the injuries at quarterback, and maybe that's more on the offensive coordinator. The young kid, they have a really young offensive coordinator. I can't think of his name, but
Clancy Pass.
Yeah, and they're just they're just playing well. But yeah, you want them to lose. Look, they're not winning the Pac-12 though. Like, I know they beat Utah in that weird game. I think Utah had some people out that game.
They did. They had Moss. Moss was there running. After the first week watching Utah, I texted my father-in-law. I said, "This Moss kid is going to be trouble for us when we play them." He sat out that game. I mean, I'm just throwing out hypotheticals here just to bring it a little bit local.
Yeah. No, we'll see. I mean, look, anytime you can work the Pac-12 into a conversation about anything, like we could be talking about like the Food Network and what kind of gravy we make, or, hey, do you put sausage in your stuffing? And you'll be like, I like sausage. You know what that reminds me of? USC football. You know what they should do. You like working USC football into any conversation, so I respect it.
It was a fun game. Their season's over unless Utah loses, except for the bowl game.
Utah, hey, I am a big Utah. As much as I despise the state of Utah, as terrifying as it is, and I never want to go there ever again unless it's you and the Sundance Film Festival, I'm rooting for those Utes.
Yeah, I want to see it too. Some notable game lines this week. Clemson at South Carolina, they're 26-point favorites. Yeah. Georgia at Georgia Tech, 28-point favorites. Wisconsin, 2-point favorites at Minnesota. Okay, I know we're not talking about either of those teams, but I'm talking Rose Bowl here. It could be a Utah-Minnesota Rose Bowl. Talk about the least sexy Rose Bowl of all time.
A lot of
28.
Not an attractive crowd. For being honest. Not the best looking crowd.
Utah, 28.5-point favorites against Colorado. Oklahoma, 12-point favorites at Oklahoma State. That is a ginormous rivalry game. They're both going to want that badly, but that means absolutely nothing. LSU, minus 17.
I love Oklahoma State in that game.
I think so.
Top of my head, first gut reaction, you telling me that line, that's way too high for that rivalry game. Oklahoma State is very good. They have a very good running back. Something. Give me that 12 points.
It's at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma needs to make a statement here too, I think. LSU, minus 17 at Texas A&M. Alabama, minus 4 at Auburn. And then in what is kind of an interesting game, I think, Ohio State, 9.5-point favorites against Michigan. Harbaugh still has not beat Ohio State, only coach in history to do so. Michigan looks awesome lately. They look very, very good. But Ohio State looks a lot better.
I'll give you a lot of credit. A month, maybe 3 weeks ago, a month ago, you said Michigan seems to have, after that Wisconsin debacle, and then after the debacle of the first half against Penn State in a game that they went on to lose against a very good Penn State game in Happy Valley, not a terrible loss, Michigan has kind of righted the ship and started blowing people out. They've been an amazing first half bet themselves, just covering the first half, covering games. It's still not enough. I don't know. Give me Ohio State. I'm going to keep riding that first half. That line's just too low. Too low for me.
It doesn't matter how bad you want it. All these teams are going to want it. They're going to want to ruin everybody else's chances. But that only accounts for less than 0.1% of what actually goes into the game. All these teams are going to want it. Oklahoma's going to want to make a statement. Georgia's going to want to make a statement. They need to, I think, in my opinion. I think that line needs to be a lot closer between Bama, Utah, and Georgia.
Just for everybody out there gambling this week, having a good time, when in doubt, if you need to throw a couple of bucks on something to watch it, take the underdog. Rivalry week, guaranteed these underdogs are covering at around a 60% clip, I'm guessing. If you're getting 10 and you're if you're 5-5 Georgia Tech playing Georgia, you're getting boat raced. But you're going to play about 35 to 40% better just based on the energy and the emotion of the game. So in a lot of these games, I'm just taking the points.
5.5. I'll tell you got to tease that way down to get Georgia Tech at 5.
Well, no, Georgia Tech's got to be getting 30.
Yeah, I just said 28.
Yeah, they're playing a little bit better as of late. But again, just give me the points in those games. They're always a little closer than we think they are.
Again, if you're just listening right now, get onto the Mostly Sports Instagram page. Any 5 picks in college football or pros, you can bet first halves, you can bet overs, unders, whatever you want, or straight game lines. We don't do money line bets, obviously. Maybe not obviously to some of you who are just getting into this. If you want to know why, then write us on the side. But pick 5 games against the spread. If you beat us, we send you a free Mostly Sports t-shirt. I've given out a couple in the past little bit. Mo, if you're listening, we still owe you a double XL. We don't have it. We only have large and XL.
I got a couple doubles back in California.
So done.
We'll get one over to Mo. Before we jump into NFL, let's break up the monotony of gambling and football. Let's talk a little Turkey Day, man. Let's talk a little bit Thanksgiving. Everybody has their own traditions. Everybody has their own things that they like. We'll do a quick 10 minutes. Maybe we'll do a little ranking of our favorite sides, your number one side. What are you doing on Thanksgiving? What do you guys do out there in California?
We're going up to Jen's parents' house up in Westlake. We used to go out to the desert. I used to teach until 9 o'clock, let traffic go by. I go to the sushi place, pick up some spicy tuna rolls, and pop them in like candy on the drive out. That's kind of my own little tradition over the past couple of years. I'm going to keep that going. Much quicker drive to get from Santa Monica up to Westlake, which is Thousand Oaks area.
What are you bringing? What kind of pot? What kind of pot of food are you bringing up there? Are you just bringing yourself?
Oh, I'm just bringing myself. Jen's mom is phenomenal with this. I'm sure Jen's dad's going to make me fire up the grill. We're going to do some steaks. Sometime with the past couple of years, we've done a little, and then my sister's going to get so mad at me for this, but we've done Cali Thanksgiving and Cali Christmas.
What, avocado toast?
Avocado toast in the morning,
Yeah.
and then we get some good ribeyes, some good porterhouse, whatever it may be, and fire those up on the grill that night. I think we're going standard. We did that last year. I think this year, Steve, my father-in-law, wants to go 100% traditional standard. What I think is traditional standard anyway. What do you think is traditional standard?
Well, I mean, we're going out. Now, this is my first time back in Pennsylvania in about 12 years. Since I moved to California for Thanksgiving, usually I come back earlier in November when everybody's not as busy. Dude, I'm just going to go traditional. We're going out. We're going to Clyde's. We're all going down to Virginia. My brothers will be coming up. You know, we'll all be going down there with all the dogs, and we're going to have a good time. And I'm just going to get a traditional plate of food, man. Just give me the basics. Give me some stuffing, some mashed potatoes, some turkey, some gravy. I'm good to go, man.
Those are the basics. For some reason, I don't think I'm too partial with any food. Keep the cranberry sauce away from me. Keep that on the other side of the table. I don't care if it's canned or legit. I'd almost rather eat the canned. The legit cranberry sauce, get it out of my sight. The one thing I need to have is sweet potatoes with that burnt marshmallow crust on top.
That's your thing. You dig
That's
that?
my thing. It's weird. I don't have any weird food things. That's my thing.
It's going to be weird not having leftovers. Because, like, every year I cook in California. Last year I cooked for Melissa and her daughter Zoe. When we had some friends over and had an amazing time, and it was cool to have like a ton of food. I made cheese pie. I don't know if you remember us talking about cheese pie on the show last year.
Absolutely.
Like, I love cheese pie. I'm going to have to bang one of those out in the next week just to have it lying around because that feels like Thanksgiving. But, yeah, it'll be good to go out, but no leftovers is going to kind of suck. What's your number one go-to? Like, if you're let's go back to young Mike Scavati in Bronxville. Babs is in the kitchen. She's got the apron on. The house smells great. Aunts, uncles, Lisa's running around outside. What was like your one thing where you'd sneak into the kitchen, stick your bony little finger in there, and cop a little taste and run out of the kitchen?
Well, it's funny you bring that up. It's the night before. We always do I don't know if it's an Italian tradition or just a Scavati tradition. Every morning, once everybody comes over, and we switch from drinking beers to drinking scotch because of Grandma Rose. We're drinking scotch at like noon.
Grandma Rose.
The Italian hot peppers come out, drenched in olive oil and garlic, with some phenomenal Italian bread and cold cuts. So my mom usually gets a couple pounds of cold cuts the night before. Obviously, when we were back before kids, when we were going home back to Bronxville every single year, we would go big for Big Wednesday. Very big. We get home at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and just go to town on those cold cuts. That was a tradition between me, my sister, everybody. It was awesome. People started coming over to our house at 5 o'clock in the morning when we get home from the bars just to fire up those cold cuts and Italian bread.
A little gabagool? Gabagool?
We had some gabagool.
A
You
nice
gotta have
sharp
gabagool.
provolone, a provolone, yes. What about the
Salami,
7
provolone,
fishes?
prosciutto. Oh my God, it was amazing.
Did you have the 7 fish? Oh, that's Christmas. The 7 fishes. 9 fishes? How many fishes?
We would only do one.
Oh, one fish. One
One fish and then a bunch of other stuff. We're always stuffed before the food even gets out. So my family's done a very good job. And we always eat early. So I remember the first time I ate with Jen's parents, they did dinner at a traditional dinner time. I was sitting there starving at 3 o'clock. I was like, well, what's going on here? What is happening? We didn't eat till like 6.
Let's do a quick handicapping, and then we'll get to the NFL. Maybe, all right, so if we're doing betting odds on the things that most people love the most, I'm going to put mashed potatoes around like minus 700. I think it's an overwhelming favorite. Like the masses. If I asked 100 people, what's the thing you look forward to the most? Thanksgiving. I'm gonna say it's mashed potatoes and gravy. Agree? Disagree?
I have 2 other things that are going to be very close, and because you are our Thanksgiving handicapper, I need you to include the actual turkey and stuffing. What are we talking odds here for those 2?
I'll say this. You know what the turkey is? The turkey is Clemson. Like, we've kind of taken it for granted. for years. It's just like, it's a staple. We know it's going to be there. We know it's going to be moist. We know it's going to be good. But we just kind of overlook it, right? But we forget how important it is. It's the fucking centerpiece of everything we're doing. Those pilgrims all those years ago, meeting with the Indians, having turkeys. They didn't have mashed potatoes. They didn't have chorizo stuffing.
Of course they had mashed potatoes.
I don't know if they were mashed the way that like Jacques Pepin mashes his potatoes, where they're nice and silky.
I wish my ancestors could hear you now.
Yeah. A little, I made some mashed potatoes the other night when I made a little coq au vin for the family, and they were sage brown butter mashed potatoes. I felt a little hoity-toity. They were amazing. But yeah, I don't know, the turkey, not a lot of respect for the turkey these days.
I agree.
I'm going to throw the turkey around minus 400.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then everybody's got different kind of stuffing. You could do the traditional bread stuffing. You could do meat stuffing. You can do whatever you want. So that's all kind of partial. I just love getting it all. Now, here's another question for you. Do you keep it all separated on your plate, or do you just mash everything together, cover it in gravy, whatever scoop you get, there you go?
This is why you're my guy. That was my next question. Like, are you a fucking psychopath like Dexter, who's a serial killer, and like your food can't, like if I'm eating dinner with somebody on Thanksgiving and they're like parceling out their food and the cranberries over here and the potato, dude, just mash, like take 2 or 3 bites, like be nice to everybody for about like 4 minutes, and then just like push all that crap together, get a little gravy on there, put your face in it, and just enjoy yourself.
I think gravy is like ice or alcohol at a party. You can never have too much. And if you run out, it's an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
If you don't have any gravy that next day left over, and my family's kind of put some off to the side for the next day, then that's a debacle. You can't eat a dry turkey sandwich.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like that's Uncle Jay here helping out with have enough gravy. Make more gravy than you think you need. Running out of gravy is like one of the worst sins of Thanksgiving. Then you gotta make a roux. You gotta make a roux. You gotta get the butter and the flour and the drippings. And it's just a pain in the ass. Make it in bulk.
Not to mention going shopping anywhere on Black Friday is a disaster. To have to go out and get turkey gravy, forget about it.
Yeah, I mean shit. Not anymore. Just Amazon. They'll drop one off with a drone.
I thought you had a beef with Amazon. How nice would it be if you run out of gravy and you have a drone drop you some gravy?
I don't know how I feel about the drone, but I'll make an exception if it's dropping off.
Greg James on the board. Greg, let me know if you are coming to class tonight because I got a shirt for you. And Greg's got into the habit of bringing me either a Yankees or a Rams paraphernalia every week. So I'm curious to see what I get this week. But I got a shirt for you tonight if you're coming tonight, Greg.
All right, 20 minutes left. I'm gonna start off with your Rams, your LA Rams. Like in typical Scavati fashion, you're already you got your foot half out on the boat. You're like the guy in Titanic that like just lower the boat. I don't care if there's 20 seats left. I'm out of here. What's his name? The Cal something or other. That's you. It's like stand in the trenches with your guys. They were in the Super Bowl last year, and here you're telling me they're going to be blown out by the third quarter at home on Monday Night Football.
I didn't say third quarter. I said second quarter.
Oh, there you go. Have a little gumption, man. We're in the foxhole together. I don't want you running for cover.
Thank you for comparing me to Billy Zane. I love that. Billy Zane's a cool dude.
It's a
Billy Zane is a very cool dude. No, dude, I just, from a gambling perspective, and I know that's kind of what we base everything on, I don't see how they can keep this close tonight. They look like crap on both sides of the ball for how good their defense is and how Aaron Donald is an MVP candidate. They can't stop a dripping faucet. They are awful. And they're going up against a team that has covered by 14 points the last 4 weeks. I can't emphasize that enough. And when you're a team that in your last 2 games with this explosive offense haven't scored more than 20 points, this is a bad formula tonight. I know they're getting a healthy Brandon Cooks and a healthy Robert Woods back and whatever Todd Gurley is, but I don't know if that's going to be the difference in this game tonight.
I'm going to do it, Mike, because this is what always happens. You quit on these teams, and then
no.
I jump on the
I'm being the objective sports guy here.
Give me the Rams by 2 touchdowns tonight. Sean McVay rallies the troops. Eric Weddle, who said he would not give any secrets up because he
what was that?
I loved that. That's a man of integrity, a man of his word.
They should have cut him right away.
No, dude, if you went and started doing like Get Up or First Take, and would you give our secrets away? Of course you would. I would take our secrets to the grave, brother. All right, so that's good karma. I'm a big karma bettor. I think karma matters. I think the Rams rally the troops tonight. And they're in the Coliseum. They're going to win by 2 touchdowns. Look, Lamar's going to put on a show. Lamar's Lamar. Baltimore's very good. But this game means a lot more to the Rams than it does to the Ravens. And motivation in the NFL is everything.
I 100% vehemently disagree with you. The Rams need this more. Yeah, they do. But that doesn't mean anything. The Rams have needed a lot in the past couple weeks, and they haven't really got it. Full disclosure, I've already put my Rams +4 bet in for the day. I did that right away. I think it was at 3.5. I bought it up to 4. Is it going to be one of my 5 picks this week? Absolutely not. The objective sports show guy on me who knows about gambling says every single sign is pointing to Baltimore. However, you and I have been doing
the other way.
You and I have been doing this long enough to know that if we see a line like this, I think that line should be about 7.5, to be honest. It's at 4. That's a weird number. It's at 3.5. So that's all the convincing I needed to put my bet in for the Rams. Although I will not be shocked if this is a 52-7 game, Baltimore.
52-7. Now look, dude, when we're on the bipolar coaster that is gambling in the NFL, right? Like we know as well as anybody does, like the minute a team looks terrible, start betting them. Look at Cleveland. They're still not making the playoffs. And granted, they beat the Dolphins and a beat-up Pittsburgh team. They still righted the ship, right? The minute these teams are in the bottom of the barrel of the basement, which the Rams have been for the last few weeks, give me those guys. I think the Rams show up tonight again. I love it. I think the line looks super weird, super wonky. This line is probably Rams -7 in August.
Yeah, for sure.
At least a touchdown.
And you have to buy that hook, I'm sure, at 7.5.
That's a lot of value that I'm getting taking the Rams here. And again, the bipolar coaster of the NFL, these teams are down. They right the ship very, very quickly, getting some guys back. Should be a fun game, though.
So, to your point, you know who I loved yesterday also? Oakland.
Paul Bunyan here. Sorry. The message.
I loved Oakland yesterday against the lowly Jets. The Jets looked like a Super Bowl team, and Oakland looked like what we thought they were going to look like earlier this year. They've had a huge uptick over the first couple weeks, and we're saying, all right, this Oakland team's for real. They're in the playoff hunt. Maybe Gruden knows what he's doing. You could have coached that team better yesterday. We talked about yesterday or last week, if you were offered a head coaching job, if you took that Oakland job this week, you would have had that team better prepared to play Sam Darnold and the Jets.
Teams have bad weeks. That was a very weird line. Just taking into account the West, the old trope of West Coast to East Coast early game. The Raider Kool-Aid was getting a little too sugary, right? Yeah. What happened yesterday doesn't take away from the phenomenal job that Gruden's done. That team just had an awful performance in a tough spot against a Jet team that, it's weird to me that they're not better. I don't know. I feel like Cowherd now, like drinking this, being on the Sam Darnold train a little bit. But that's a guy that I play in DraftKings every week. And he just, that Patriot game really got in his head. I think he's finally coming out of it. That was a weird line yesterday. And the Jets put on a show.
Speaking of that Patriot game, the Seeing Ghosts game, if we could transfer over to that game last night, Aaron Rodgers last night. That was an absolute debacle last night. I'm not upset that I missed any of that game. Avery had the TV watching cartoons, and I couldn't. She was watching Descendants, so I was relegated to the bedroom to watch it. Last night, Aaron Rodgers finished with 104 passing yards, his fewest in a game with at least 30 in a passing attempts, and the second fewest by any quarterback to attempt 30 passes this season. Do you know what was the first game?
What do you got?
Sam Darnold in the Seeing Ghosts Patriots game. So that was the worst game we've ever seen from Aaron Rodgers. They looked awful, every side of the ball.
I should have known. I was over my buddy Greg's yesterday. We were watching some football with him and his kids and his lovely wife. And, he's a sharp guy, but he looks at me, he goes, Dog, I love the Packers tonight. Oh, that's my favorite. And that told me all I needed to know. I love the guy, but the minute anybody in your life, anybody says they love something, i.e. you at the start of this goddamn show, talking about the 52-7 Baltimore blowout. Take all the kids' college fund money, take the Christmas money, the Hanukkah money, the Thanksgiving turkey, walk it up to your bookie's house, put it all on the Rams tonight, because that's just the way you got to do it.
You know, one of us is going to be doing an Instagram story tomorrow about how smart we are.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, so
I like that. That's good. I like it when we're on polar opposite sides. If you disagreed with me and said, yeah, Lamar's going to run all over them, which he will anyway, then that's no fun. I heard an interesting take on gambling, too, this past week. We all like to think we do research. You're not going to out-research Las Vegas or any of these top analyst shows. We have such a short-term memory when gambling. We don't remember what teams could do week 3, week 4. We don't think that Aaron Rodgers could have a clunker like he did last night. Like, no, it's Sunday Night Football. There's no way. He's going to show up. Yeah, he might show up 98% of the time. Last night he did not show up. San Francisco defense, 169-point differential this season. It's the largest since 1948. So for those of you, myself included, who haven't been totally sold on the 49ers, it's time to get on board. They are beyond legit. Last night should have showed it to you. Another interesting note about that game last night, those two teams have played each other 37 times. Of those 37 times, 30 of them, they've had an MVP quarterback in the game. Pretty cool. I thought that stat was all right.
Yeah, when I think of that rivalry, I think of the T.O. catch in the end zone after a couple big drops. Probably other than eating popcorn and dropping the ball on the star, the most iconic Terrell Owens moment.
Yeah.
On that ball over the middle from one of those MVP quarterbacks, Steve Young. Yeah, they've had a great little rivalry over the years, and that's probably one of those rivalries that's a little unsung. Right? Now, if I put a list of all those games they've played, the 27 games, I believe you said, 20 of those games are probably pretty iconic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So,
you just think about the quarterbacks, going back to Bart Starr, Montana, Young, Favre, Rodgers, and then it looks like Garoppolo is going to get one within a couple of years because he looks great.
How do you leave out the Magic Man, Don Majkowski? I mean,
because I'm not as old as you.
Who didn't love the Magic Man, dude? One of the great mullets in NFL history. Don Majkowski, shout out to you, brother. Have a great Thanksgiving.
I'm a lot younger than you.
Yeah, you are.
Also, real quick, shifting gears, Cowboys, Patriots. I was fired up for that game.
Ugly.
People talk about the Cowboys all the time. That game was an absolute clunker. What was it, 13-9? I had the Cowboys and the under to cover. I think they were getting 6.5 at closing time. Interesting note about the Cowboys right now, they're 0-4 against teams that enter the game with a winning record this year. 0-4. They're 6-1 again in the other games. The only other teams 0-4 or worse against winning teams this year, the Broncos, Bengals, Redskins, Cardinals. So the Cowboys suck. That's it. Jason Garrett, what do? You keep him or you let him go?
I mean, Jason Garrett's got 9 lives. I mean, he's up there in that list of like the Marvin Lewises of the world. Where, hey, dude, what kind of pictures do you have of Jerry Jones or somebody in some kind of power to keep your job? I don't know. We'll see what happens. Again, great young offensive coordinator behind them. The kid from Boise State, Kellen. Forget his last name. Yeah, Kellen Moore. Son of a coach. He was a great player. The offense, he's turned Dak into a good quarterback. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But look, the Eagles looked awful yesterday. They were unwatchable. That whole game was just disgusting, right? Eagles were like one game out of first place because the Cowboys just aren't good either.
Yeah.
It's that whole division. Like, if I gave you even money, well, I guess you probably still would have taken the NFC West. But, like, start of the year, I'm not sure I thought the NFC West was, like, head and shoulders above the NFC East.
No.
But it's like the NFC West is like a whole nother stratosphere, and a team might make the playoffs from the NFC East that's 500 or worse. That's absolutely in play, so we'll see what happens.
I mean, the Rams are 2 games back of second place, and they're 6-4. And Arizona's no gimme. I know they're 3-7, but nobody's taking that game lightly anymore when you got to travel to the desert, play Arizona. Your boy Carson Wentz. Speaking of teams with a winning record, in the last 2 seasons, 3-8. 3-8. I know people still have Wentz on the big board as that top in my, I love tiers, in either that top tier or second tier.
Yeah.
But this is a guy, like I say about Minnesota or even San Fran, still not sold on them yet. Now I'm sold on San Fran. I've never been sold on Carson Wentz.
Yeah, I think a lot of the people that were holding on to that Carson Wentz stock, like those last few people that were like, no. He's just getting healthy from that knee. This guy was MVP, I think even those people are starting to sell a little bit. Being on the ground here in Philly, there was like a lot of chatter going around from a lot of people I was talking to that were just like, this is miserable. Now, look, the guy didn't have Jordan Howard. The guy didn't have Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson. He's missing huge pieces in that offense. And I did like when Wentz was scrambling. I think their best offense yesterday was Wentz taking off for like 7-8 yard runs. So I love that aspect on him. I'm not going to give up on him just yet, but he's got a long road to hoe to get back into that Scavati, like, tier 2.
Okay, that's good. I'm glad you said that. What was he had to go to the locker room yesterday, mid-game for something. What was it?
I don't know. I mean, we're sitting there, again, watching the game at my buddy Greg's house, having a great time. The game was so boring that I grabbed the remote control, I clicked over to YouTube, and I played a video from the guy from America's Got Talent, Cody Lee. Have you seen Cody Lee yet?
No.
Cody Lee. I implore everybody out there listening, once the show's over, go to the tube of you, type in Cody Lee, America's Got Talent, watch that video, and if you don't cry, I will hand deliver a Mostly Sports cashmere V-neck because you're definitely crying. It's unbelievable. That was my thoughts on the Eagles yesterday. That's how boring it was.
Let me ask you a question. Is it like a long story and this and that with Cody Lee?
Dude, it takes 5 minutes out of your day.
That's 4 minutes and 58 seconds too much.
You need a little Cody Lee in your life.
I don't watch these garbage shows to begin with, but if I do, just keep reeling out the talent. I don't give a shit about their backstory, about how their puppy died when they were little, and they moved around a lot when they were kids, and they didn't have any friends. I'm sorry. Not for me. That's partially why I don't watch those. I watched the first, maybe season or 2 of American Idol. I would love to see how many auditions they had per hour versus 2 years ago. Because it must have gone from 30 down to 3. I don't care about your story. I don't give a shit. I put Cody Lee in. I see it. I'm going to get rid of it. The first video is 20 and a half minutes.
Your frozen little heart, man. Just I gotta chip away at your frozen little heart and
get out of here. I'm not listening to that shit.
You got 2 beautiful kids. You got a beautiful wife. You're a family man. I know you're snuggling. I know you probably got this great, little, when you talk to Avery, you're probably like, oh, like little cutesy voice, hanging out with Dylan. You get on this show, all of a sudden you're like an iron worker from Pittsburgh who's been in the fucking coal mines for 50 years. Get a little love in your heart outside of your family, man. Cody Lee, it's amazing.
The show is called America's Got Talent, not America Has a Really Sad Story that we're going to suck you into for 20 minutes.
It's not sad. It's uplifting. It's amazing.
Get out of here. That's such a waste, man. I can't believe that. If I were you, I'd be down there going through those baseball cards instead of watching America's Got Talent. Man. What do they show you? 2 people juggling fucking bowling pins or something for 5 seconds, and then you got to listen to this guy talk about how he couldn't buy bowling pins when he was younger because his family was poor. Get the fuck out of here with that. I'm so done with that.
And right behind you is like a bunch of little toys for kids. You're gonna get off this.
I love it.
You're gonna get off this stream, and you're gonna there's my kids. You're gonna love them up, and
That's good. Okay. I'm glad all my energy goes to that instead of some stupid bullshit reality show.
You're like a 14-year-old in a 40-year-old's body. It's how long? 5 minutes? Too long.
Too long.
I got 3 seconds for you. That's all I got.
I told Avery the other day. I was like, I know I look old, but I'm basically a big kid. She goes, no, you're a dad. I'm like, no, but I'm still I'm 14 years old. I just have to make sure you guys don't die when I have you. That's pretty much it.
I love it.
Real quick.
Hour, you got to get out of here to go take care of your kids. What else you got?
I got to get out of here. I might have them watch a little Cody Lee, see what they think about it.
Oh, dude, just watch it, bro. It's amazing.
Real quick, NBA takes. Luka, Zach LaVine. What do we got?
The Zach LaVine thing was really cool. That Jim Boylan is an absolute joke as a coach. It's like he's coaching like a 7th grade CYO team where everybody has to play 23 minutes, this socialist mentality. And Zach LaVine comes out, rips him in the press, which is not a normal thing. Comes out and backs it up. You like when a guy talks some shit, and then goes out and backs it up. The Bulls win this game. I think he hit, 14 threes?
Second right behind Clay.
He's not going to do that next game, but you always like seeing a guy back it up. Look, Luka eviscerating. I'm going to go to Luka. They play the Sixers on the 20th. We'll be down at that game. I'm very excited to see him in person. And, eviscerating Harden last night was it's not shocking. I mean, he's an exponentially better basketball player than James Harden is. It's literally not even close. So it was cool to see that. And to watch him do it with Dwight Powell, with the corpse of Kristaps Porzingis, with Tim Brunson and Tim Hardaway Jr. I mean, Luka has no help at all, and he is winning games by 20. I believe they're somewhere around 11-5. Easy runaway MVP right now. If they had the MVP voting today, he would win in a walk. It literally wouldn't even be close. And
I think it was funny. They were interviewing him last year why their defense is so much better this year. You hear what he said?
What did he say?
He goes, "Yeah, well, we've had Dirk the last couple of years, so we get rid of Dirk, we're doing all right." I thought it was good. I like this kid, man. I think he's great.
Yeah, it's fun, man. Look, ratings are in the tank for the NBA. There's a lot. They're just not. They don't as popular as the NBA is. Perceptually, people don't show up and watch these games, which is very strange. On the TV, ESPN viewership for these nationally televised games down a ton. But we'll see. It's still early, right? It's still football season. When the NBA is the only show in town come January, February, I'm sure some interest will rise a little bit. And, it's just been a good year. The Sixers, Ben Simmons hit a 3. We were picking up my friend Kenny's kid at basketball practice. He gets in the car. I go, "Grayson, I'm going to tell you something, and you're not going to believe me." He's like, "What?" I go, "Ben Simmons hit a 3-pointer." He goes, "No way." He literally didn't believe me. I showed him the video, and you would have thought, all right, do we have school tomorrow? Cancel school, cancel church, close the post office, just a day to celebrate Ben Simmons shooting a 3. You know how many he's taken since then? 0.
Why would he?
He's like you in the TBT.
I was going to say it.
Yeah, you went the first year you went 1 for 1. You were 100%. You were probably better off never shooting again. Unfortunately, your ego got the best of you. The next year, you jacked up 3 or 4, brought that percentage down a little bit. But I'll never forget 100% you, 1 for 1.
Single season record for TBT, baby. Let's go. Thank you to everybody for listening. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Get on here, share this for us. We appreciate it. Get over to Instagram and Mostly Sports. Give us a follow. Let us know who you like this week. And as far as picks, put your 5 picks up on our board. If you beat us, you get a Mostly Sports t-shirt. That is it, Greg. I will maybe see you later. I got something for you if you come to class. Jay, enjoy Philly. We'll talk to you in a little bit.
Later.
Later.